Good morning and welcome to our show, Education Today. Today we are discussing a very important question that many parents, teachers, and students are thinking about. The question is, should financial literacy be a mandatory subject in our schools? To help us explore this topic, we have two excellent guests with us. First, we have Mr. David Chen, a high school economics teacher who strongly believes that financial education is necessary. Welcome, Mr. Chen.
Good morning, Sarah. It's a pleasure to be here.
We also have Ms. Maria Garcia, a school principal who understands the school environment very well and has some concerns about this idea. Welcome, Ms. Garcia.
Thank you for having me, Sarah.
Let's begin the discussion. Mr. Chen, I would like to start with you. Could you please explain to our audience why you believe teaching financial literacy in schools is so important?
Of course, and thank you for this opportunity. I want to start with a quick story about one of my former students. Let's call him Alex. Alex was a brilliant student, very good at history and science, and he graduated with top grades. About a year after he left our school, he contacted me for advice. He was in serious trouble. He had received his first credit card, and he thought it was free money. He didn't understand interest rates or how minimum payments work. Within months, he had thousands of dollars in debt and had no idea how to create a simple budget to manage his small salary and pay it off. He felt lost and stressed. This story is not unusual. We prepare students for exams, but we do not prepare them for one of the most basic parts of life, managing their own money. In today's world, understanding money is as fundamental as reading and writing. It is an essential life skill. Without this basic knowledge, young people are simply not ready for the responsibilities of adulthood. My second point is that teaching these skills can prevent future problems. We can teach young people about the importance of saving money for emergencies or for the future. We can show them how to make a budget so they know where their money is going. We can explain what debt is, how it works, and why it is important to be careful with borrowing money. This knowledge helps students avoid serious financial mistakes later in life. It reduces their future stress and helps them build a secure and stable future for themselves and their families. Finally, and this is perhaps the most important point, making financial literacy a school subject promotes equality. The reality is that not all children can learn about money at home. Many parents are struggling with their own finances or may not have the knowledge to teach their children effectively. This creates an unfair situation. Children from families with strong financial knowledge have a big advantage. Schools can fix this. Schools can provide a level playing field, ensuring that every single student has access to this vital information, no matter what their family's situation is. It gives every child a fair chance at a successful financial life.
Thank you, Mr. Chen, for that passionate opening. You've given us a lot to think about. Now, I'd like to turn to Ms. Garcia. Ms. Garcia, you are a principal, so you see the daily operations of a school. What are your thoughts on making financial literacy a required subject?
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Mr. Chen, for your perspective. I want to begin by saying that I completely agree that financial literacy is incredibly important for our young people. Your story about your former student is a powerful example of why this knowledge is needed. I don't think anyone here disagrees on the importance of the topic. However, my concerns are not about the why, but about the how. The practical reality of implementing this in schools is very challenging. My first major concern is the already overcrowded curriculum. A school day only has so many hours, and a school year only has so many days. Our schedules are already packed with essential subjects like mathematics, language arts, science, history, physical education, and the arts. So, if we add a new mandatory class for financial literacy, we have to ask a very difficult question. What subject do we remove? Or which subject do we reduce? Do we cut an hour of math? Do we take away a history class? Do we sacrifice music or art programs, which are already fighting for their place in our schools? These are not easy choices, and every subject in the curriculum is important for a child's development. My second concern is about our teachers. Who is going to teach this subject? Most of our teachers are highly trained experts in their specific fields. An English teacher is an expert in literature and writing. A science teacher is an expert in biology or chemistry. They are not financial experts. To teach this subject properly, we would need to implement a massive training program for our existing teachers. This would be expensive and time-consuming. Alternatively, we would need to hire new teachers with a background in finance, which is also a significant cost for school districts that already have limited budgets. Finally, I believe we need to consider the role of the family. Learning about money, values, and how to manage resources has traditionally started in the home. It is connected to family values, how a family decides to spend, save, or share its money. I believe that this is primarily a parent's responsibility. Parents can teach these lessons in a way that is connected to their family's daily life and personal values. Schools should support parents, but not take over this fundamental role.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia, for outlining those practical challenges so clearly. You've both given us strong arguments. Let's get into some discussion now. Ms. Garcia, I'd like to come back to you with a question. Mr. Chen argues that this is a basic skill, as important as math. Instead of creating a completely new class, couldn't we just integrate financial topics into existing subjects? For example, couldn't these ideas be taught in a math class?
That is an excellent question, Sarah, and it is a solution that people often suggest. On the surface, it seems like a simple and effective idea. We can certainly use math classes to teach students how to calculate interest on a loan or on savings. That part is easy to integrate. However, my concern is that simple integration is not enough. Financial literacy is much more than just math calculations. It's about behavior, decision-making, and understanding risk. It's about psychology. Why do we choose to buy something we don't need? How do we plan for long-term goals, like buying a house? Just calculating the interest on a credit card in a math problem is very different from teaching a teenager about the dangers of debt and the discipline of budgeting. If we only add small pieces to other classes, I worry that we will not give the topic the attention it truly needs. It might result in a very low-quality education on this important subject.
Mr. Chen, what is your response to that? Is simple integration not enough?
I understand Ms. Garcia's concern, and I agree that financial literacy is more than just math. But I believe that thoughtful integration can be very powerful and practical. It does not have to be shallow. For example, in a math class, students can work on a year-long project to create and manage a personal budget. This is a real-world application of their math skills. In social studies or civics class, when students learn about the government, they can also learn about taxes. Why do we pay them? Where does the money go? This connects directly to their future paychecks. In English class, students could read articles or stories about the impact of financial decisions on people's lives and write about them. Regarding teacher training, it doesn't have to be a huge, expensive program. We can develop specific, focused training modules. We can give teachers the resources and lesson plans they need to feel confident teaching these topics within their subjects. It is a practical challenge, but not an impossible one.
That's an interesting perspective on how integration could work. Mr. Chen, I want to ask you about another point Ms. Garcia raised, parental responsibility. What is your response to the view that teaching about money is a job for parents, not for schools?
This is a very important point, and I respect the idea that parents should be involved. However, I must return to the issue of equality. If we rely only on parents, we create a large equality gap. Some students will get an excellent financial education at home. They will learn how to invest, how to save, and how to think about money strategically. But many other students will get no financial education at all. Their parents may be working multiple jobs and have no time. Or they may be struggling with debt themselves and lack the confidence to teach their children. This is not the fault of the parents or the children, but it creates an unfair system where some kids start their adult lives with a huge advantage. The purpose of public education is to give every child the same foundation for success. We teach every child to read, because we believe literacy is a universal right. I believe financial literacy should be seen in the same way. It is a fundamental skill needed for survival and success in our society, and schools have a responsibility to provide it to everyone.
Ms. Garcia, what do you think about that equality argument?
The equality argument is a very strong one, and I do not disagree with it. Mr. Chen is right that schools play a vital role in closing gaps between students from different backgrounds. It is a beautiful ideal, and in a perfect world, our schools would have the resources to teach every important life skill perfectly. However, as a principal, I must deal with the practical realities and limitations we face every day. Our budgets are tight, our teachers are overworked, and our schedules are full. So while I agree with the goal of equality, I believe that making financial literacy a mandatory graded subject for all students presents too many practical challenges for our school system right now. The risk of doing it badly is very high.
This has been a very insightful discussion. We are nearing the end of our time, so I would like to ask you both for a brief closing statement. Ms. Garcia, could you please begin by summarizing your position for us?
Certainly. I want to repeat that I believe financial knowledge is essential for our students. My opposition is not to the subject, but to the method. Making it a mandatory class for every student is not the right approach. As I've explained, our curriculum is already full, and we lack the specially trained teachers to do it well. Instead of forcing this into an already stressed system, I propose a more flexible solution. Let's offer financial literacy as an optional program. We could have after-school clubs for students who are interested. We could organize special workshops a few times a year, perhaps with volunteers from the local community, like bankers or financial planners. This approach gives motivated students the chance to learn these important skills without disrupting the core curriculum for everyone else, and without putting more pressure on our teachers and budgets.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia, for that solution-oriented proposal. Mr. Chen, your final thoughts.
Thank you. I believe the points I have made today are clear. First, managing money is a basic and necessary skill for modern life. Second, teaching it in schools is the only way to promote fairness and ensure every child has the opportunity to learn, regardless of their family background. An optional club or workshop is a good idea, but it is not enough. Important subjects are not optional. We do not have optional math clubs for students who want to learn how to add and subtract. We teach it to everyone because everyone needs it. Financial literacy is the same. It is our duty to prepare the next generation for the real world they will enter after graduation. By making financial literacy a core part of their education, we don't just create better students. We create more capable, confident, and successful adults who can build a better future for us all.
Thank you, Mr. Chen and Ms. Garcia, for sharing your very insightful perspectives with us today. We have heard powerful arguments for both the absolute necessity of financial education and the significant practical challenges of implementing it in our schools. It is clear there is no easy answer. We hope this discussion has given you, our audience, a lot to think about. Thank you for joining us on Education Today. Good morning.